Hey folks, I'm glad you're here. My name is Chris, and this is the Sons of Sever YouTube channel where there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad gear. Today, my brother Eric and I are going to be talking about the Chelsea Tuff boots from Lems. Important thing to note here, there are two versions of this boot. I got one version, and Eric got the other one. The big difference between them is the one that I got is lined with a furry liner, and it is waterproof. Eric's are not lined, and they are not waterproof. They do, however, have the same lovely outsole that we have come to love. That is from the Outlander and the Boulder Summit. So theoretically, this is a Chelsea that is very tough, and you could hike in it as well. As always, we are going to talk about our likes and our dislikes of these boots. There are timestamps down in the description if you want to jump around to different parts of the video. And if there's something that we don't talk about that you want to know about, let us know down in the comment section, and we'll make sure to answer those questions. But for now, I'm going to pass things over to Eric to kick us off with his likes of his version of the Chelsea Tuff from Lems.
All right, talking about my likes with the Chelsea Tuff, the first and most obvious one is the biggest upgrade that this boot has had this year, and it's that outsole. So there were a lot of comments on our very first review of the Lems waterproof Chelsea, people saying that they wished that it had a better traction pattern than the one that it shares with the Primal Zen, and Lems has definitely delivered on that front. This is the same traction pattern and same outsole that you have on the Outlander as well as the Boulder Summit, and it's a traction pattern that we've always loved, and this is no different. It performs awesome on the trail, whether it's snow or ice or just wet conditions. This does a really good job gripping in all of those situations, and it is definitely a big upgrade for their Chelsea boot. Next up is the comfort of this boot. I really love the wide toe box that it has. It says that it's built on Lems' widest last. I'll talk a little bit more about that in my dislikes, however, but it is a roomy toe box and my feet totally fit in here without any problems. There's also this layer of padding that's been sewn in around the inside of the boot. So up on the top of your foot, you can feel that, and then down around the heel as well. And it just gives the boot a little bit of extra squish inside, and it is zero drop, so we like that about this boot. It's very comfortable to wear. I also love how easy it is to get on and off. That's obviously something that's very common with all Chelsea boots, and this one's no different there. I also really like the material that it's been made out of. This is a nice full grain pebbled leather. I wasn't sure how I liked it at the beginning, but it's definitely something that's grown on me. I think it's a nice looking leather, and it's going to be very durable. I also really love the look of this Chelsea boot. I think Lems designed this very well. It's my favorite looking Chelsea boot I think that we've gotten, and we have quite a few right now. We've got the one from Xero, the one from Jim Green, the one from Feelgrounds. We're hoping to get another from BeLenka. At some point, we're going to do a big video that compares all of them, but I do think that Lems' design for their Chelsea boots is the one that I like the look of the most. I also really like the fact that they have a waterproof and a non-waterproof option. This one, without the waterproof membrane or the fur lining, means it's going to be usable in more seasons. So because it's not going to be so warm, you can definitely use it outside of winter. I think that you can use it during winter with a pair of really warm wool socks, but the fact that it doesn't have those linings means it's going to be totally fine in the spring and fall. I think you could totally wear it in the summer too. I like that you can have either or if you really need, you can pick up both of them.
So just as an aside, I just barely dunked my non-waterproof version of the Lems Chelsea Tuff into the water. I didn't go up to the bungee part because I knew that water would get in if I did that. But I was standing up to the bungee, and as long as water doesn't get over there, then they're pretty watertight. I think they're gonna have you covered as far as like rain goes, puddles, things like that. As long as you're not submerging them into the water for long periods of time, then I think you're totally gonna be set with the water resistance of the non-waterproof Chelsea Tuff.
Getting into my likes for the Chelsea Tuff, there is a lot to like. I'm gonna let you know up front. The first thing I want to mention is the toe box. Eric's come in at the widest according to the Lems website, and these come in at the wide, but the reason I think that is just because of the waterproofing membrane and the fur liner that we have in here. To my foot, this feels like Lems' widest last. I've got plenty of width in here for my pinky toe to push out and not touch the outside edge of the boot, and I am the toe box snob here, so trust me when I say this thing is plenty wide, at least for my feet. This is something you'll already know if you have used the Lems Outlander or the Boulder Summits. This outsole is fantastic, very grippy, performs really well in pretty much all conditions, especially in snow. It does a really, really good job in snowy and wet conditions, and I love that they took that and they put it in a Chelsea boot. Chelsea boots historically started off as more of a worker's boot and then were kind of co-opted by women and became a bit of a fashion piece. I used to see them as a very feminine, but it seems like the barefoot industry specifically is starting to take them back and ruggedize them and make them a tough boot again, and Lems has definitely done that by including this specific outsole. The last two things that I want to mention are specific to this version of the boot. The first one is the fur lining. This thing is super duper warm, and I love that about this. Between the ruggedness of the outsole and the warmth, you're not going to shy away from taking this thing out into the mountains on a really cold hike. Add into that my next like, how amazingly waterproof these things are. I think that these may actually be the most waterproof barefoot shoes I currently own. I tested these things out in the mountains, walking in and out of a creek and just dunking these things over and over again, and they are not only waterproof up to the bungee, they're waterproof past the bungee. This bungee material, which you'll see now, is very stretchy, is completely waterproof. I was able to submerge these things all the way up to the top and not have any issues with water getting in. Between the outsole, the warmth, and the waterproofing, this is one of the most capable and rugged hiking boots that I think we have reviewed to date. Add into that my very last like, which is how dang good looking these things are. I think Lems crushes it when it comes to the Chelsea boot aesthetic. This thing is pretty unstoppable. With our likes of the Chelsea Tuff out of the way, it's time for us to get into our dislikes. But first, we want to let you know there is a link down in the description that will take you over to the Lems website. If you use that link to make any purchases, if you are liking the looks of these boots and you want to grab yourself a pair, that link will give us a little bit of a kickback to the channel, which helps us to bring more quality reviews here in front of you. So if you want to grab anything from Lems website, use that link down in the description. We really appreciate it. One of our favorite partners that we work with here on the channel is Creeper's Toe Socks. Toe socks are awesome. They let you use up a nice wide toe box like the ones that we have in the Chelsea Tuff here. We've also found that Creepers are some of the most comfortable and durable to wear in all situations, whether you're hiking, running, just hanging out around the house. Creepers are awesome. If you want to use the link down in the description to get over to their website, it will auto apply a 10% discount code for you. We've tried 20 other toe sock brands, and Creepers still stands at the top for us. If you're interested in checking them out, make sure to use the link down in the description.
Okay, talking about my dislikes with the Chelsea Tuff, there's really just one thing that I can think of, and that is that when you're building a tougher boot, you're going to sacrifice minimalism. And I do feel like I missed the minimalism of the waterproof one that we reviewed last year whenever I put this on my foot. So that manifests itself in a few different ways. The first way is if you look at the toe boxes. I mentioned that this one is a nice and roomy toe box, but if you look at them there, the waterproof version that's built on the same sole as the Primal Zen doesn't taper as soon as this one does. So they might be the same width, but this one definitely is a little bit more foot-shaped in my opinion and not quite as pointy as the Chelsea Tuff. So I think that because of the different outsoles that they're built on, there's that difference in the way that this one is more rounded and this one is more pointed. So I definitely prefer this toe box. Now there's a bit of a difference in their stack heights as well. We've got the Chelsea Tuff coming in at 19.5 millimeters and the other waterproof one coming in at 15.5. So that makes this much less flexible than the less tough Chelsea boot, and it gives it a lot less ground feel too. So if those are things that you're looking for, then this probably isn't going to be the option for you. It also shows itself in the weight of the boots. This one is 14 ounces, whereas the older version is only 9.8. So there's definitely a bit of a difference there, but like I said, there's always got to be sacrifices, and for you to get a tougher Chelsea boot, you're going to sacrifice some of that minimalism. I just find myself missing this one on my foot when I am wearing this one. So I think for Lems to solve my problem, because I really do love that this has a better outsole on it, I would love if they would make something in between the two of these and make me a Chelsea grip. So that would reduce the stack height, it would increase the flexibility and the ground feel, but you would still get a better outsole than this one. And honestly, that's all that I really need it for. I don't need a Chelsea boot that I'm going to take on super technical terrain that this outsole can handle, but I do want to take it on like light trails and things like that. And I think that the grip outsole will handle that situation better than the Primal Zen outsole does. So if Lems could do me a solid and make a Chelsea grip next season, that would be awesome. If anybody else thinks that's a good idea, let us know down in the comments. But let's send it over to Chris now so that he can talk about his dislikes.
Getting into my dislikes of the Chelsea Tuff, the first thing that I'll mention is they're a little on the chonky side. So 16 millimeters is the base stack height, then a 5.5 millimeter insole. I immediately took that out, and I like the volume in this just fine with no insole. It's also completely finished inside, so that's not an issue, although I am considering taking the thermal insoles out of my Feelgrounds Patrol Winters and throwing them in here, because they're not that thick, so they're not going to add too much to the stack height, and they will help protect that warmth. Something that Lems was very forward thinking about when it came to this boot was they included this little filler insole that you can use to play with the volume. So they gave you a lot of volume because the complaint they had on the last Chelsea was that there wasn't enough volume, and then they added a filler in there in case you wanted to throw this in to decrease the amount of volume that you have in this boot. The dislike that I have here is that that little filler insole doesn't really grab onto the floor of this boot by itself very well. So if you take out that 5.5 millimeter insole and just put in this little 1 or 2 millimeter filler, it's gonna slide back on you. At least it did on me, and then it ends up underneath my toes and I can feel it. Really don't like that. The last thing that I'm gonna say I don't like about this boot is just that it's gonna be seasonal for me. I'm not gonna be able to wear this thing too much outside of the fall and winter, maybe the early spring as well. Because of that fur lining, because it's so warm, this thing is gonna go into storage and mainly gonna come out in the colder months of the year.
Alright, so when it comes to my final opinion of the Chelsea Tuff, would I recommend this for other people? And it totally depends on what you're looking for, as is usually the case with me. If you want a Chelsea boot that is going to be a pretty hard use hiker, then I would think so. I think that if you're using it to go hiking, you probably want to go with the waterproof one, which is where this one for me falls short just a little bit. Like, I wanted a Chelsea boot that was a little bit tougher, but having this outsole on it, I think takes away from being able to use it in more business casual situations, because the way that those lugs look just kind of looks a little bit goofy. Like, it looks like a hiking boot that you're wearing to the office or at church or wherever. And that's where I think my idea for the Chelsea grip would come in and do a really good job, because that one's lugs are much less aggressive than this one, so it would look better, it would provide more grip. I do really like this one, but it's a little bit overkill for me, because I really don't like hiking in Chelsea's that much. They're just not as secure as I would like my hiking footwear to be with these elastic openings. So if you are somebody who wants to hike in a Chelsea boot and you want the most grip, then yes, this one is going to be the answer for you. But I think for me, I'm not going to use it quite as much, just because I'm looking to wear a Chelsea casually more, and I don't think that this one fits in casually as well as the other model does. Just a small note on the sizing with these boots, I would recommend a half size up. So in most shoes, I'm a European 42, US men's size 9. I got the 9.5 with these ones because a lot of the Lems shoes started to feel kind of tight on me, and that seems to have been perfect. Now, I'm still a 9 in almost everywhere else, so Splay, Ultra, Bahé, BeLenka, when it comes to like all those other brands, a 42 or a US 9 works out for me, but with Lems, I need that half size up, and that's been true with all of the latest shoes that we've gotten from them. So the Breck boot, the Chelsea Tuff, and the Chukka that we're going to review here shortly, I would suggest a half size up.
Getting into my final opinion on the Chelsea Tuff, I believe this is called the Dark Roast, which is the one with the lining and the waterproofing. Would I recommend this boot to you? Absolutely. Usually with a lot of my final opinions, I say it depends. It does not depend for me when it comes to this thing. If you're looking for a solid winter and fall, maybe early spring boot, this guy is going to crush everything else. You're sacrificing a little bit when it comes to the ground feel and the flexibility. I will give that, but otherwise, the waterproofing is bomb-proof, the grip is bomb-proof, it's very warm. In my opinion, it's plenty wide for most people's feet out there. I love this thing. The only regret I have is that I can't wear it all year long, and that's okay. This thing will go into storage when it gets warm in the spring, and I'll bring it right back out when the fall comes around. Folks, if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. All those things really help the channel out. If you're interested in any of the products that we talked about in this video, there will be links to them down in the description. If we have discount codes for any of those companies, they will be featured with the links. If you want to get more content from us, there are 3 different places you can get it. The first one is Patreon, where for $1 a month, you can get exclusive behind-the-scenes content we don't post anywhere else. If you want to be most up-to-date with what we are working on, make sure to follow us on Instagram, where we are constantly posting unboxing videos. Go follow us on Strava if you're interested in seeing mini reviews in real time of the products we're using and what we're using them for. Strava allows you to track and post about your different activities. We track and post about our runs, trail runs, hikes, paddleboarding, and weightlifting, and we do little mini reviews on the products we're using during those activities. Go follow us there, and we will follow you back. We appreciate your view, and as always, we will catch you in the mountains.